Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Paramedics and Pints. Today we have a couple new guests. We got Wade, who's less special guest. He's here all the time. And then we've got Yanide. That's not really how you say her name. It's the way I say her name, though. And then we've got Hannah. So, Nida, you want to talk a little bit about yourself and tell us about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, my name's Nide. I'm an advanced EMT. Have been for about a little over 3 years now. Before that, I worked as a medical assistant, and in my free time, I love to just be here on Paramedic and Pints and some other cool podcasts. And I love teaching, and I really like cider.
Solid transition.
That's on, we just saw Nide's Tinder profile. It sounds like.
Yeah, no, actually.
Loves dogs.
I should have added in and I like the outdoors and yeah.
Picture of all the fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Looking for a man 6 foot plus.
How about you, Hannah?
I'm Hannah. I am a paramedic. I have been for about 7 years now, an EMT before that.
Recently promoted FTO.
Yes, I am a lieutenant now.
We all stood when she walked in the room. You guys just missed it, but we all stood and showed our respect.
The saluting. But let's see. I also enjoy long walks on the beach and outside, and cider as well. I got 2 kids. Keep me pretty busy outside of everything else. So.
So we have established this is the lieutenant couch.
Oh.
And that's the not.
And the less than.
Yeah.
The less than. I like it. So,
It tracks. It
Yeah,
tracks.
well, I don't kiss as much butt as you guys might have, so that's actually a lie. They're very qualified individuals. I'm just jealous.
so what's everyone drinking? Let's start with Wade. What do you got today?
I've got a Above the Clouds Pale Ale from Western Collective here in the local area.
Love. Sounds
What you need,
fancy. I've got a blackberry hard cider from Two Towns Cider House.
Hannah, how about you?
Also 2 towns. Best cider around. Cosmic Crisp.
It's I think that's the astronaut surfing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So cool.
Those
Kinda
cans work
fancy,
because of
not gonna lie.
advertising, 100%.
No, literally, yeah.
I'll buy them because of the
Base it
giraffe.
off of, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool can. And then I was the genius that started a podcast about drinking when I don't drink. So I've got Bedford's root beer, which should be pretty good. I enjoy myself a good root
It's
beer.
Crazy.
it's giving crafty. It's giving authentic. I like it. Yeah.
Root beer was
Very demure. Very mindful.
I'm too old for those. How you said that is just like how my kids talk.
I mean, I learned that, I think, from her. I have no idea where it came from outside of that. I know where it came from the internet, I know, but yeah, I'm not going to look it up.
So we're going to crack these things open and get started. What we're going to do today, try something a little bit different. We have a little beer pong set up. And so to find kind of our initial subject to talk about, we're going to play a little beer pong. So I think we said Nide's going to be up first if you want to get up and
I'm
make
going.
a throw.
I'm going.
So we've got
first.
okay.
we've got some cups out there with some subjects on them, and depending on how well we throw, we're hoping the last cup standing is going to be what we're going to start talking about. So.
Well, with
Okay.
our editing
Let's see.
ability, for sure we're going to hit every one, right? No misses.
Yeah, no, literally get prepared for me to fail.
I won't miss. I'll take you missing over and over.
That's
though.
fine.
Yeah.
So,
You're going to have to try, but yeah.
Alrighty, here we go.
yeah, gotta miss. You'll have to miss once for me to be able to cut it.
Honors. Okay. Are we bouncing or are we just tossing?
Grow up.
Whatever,
throw it in.
however you want to do it.
Okay, fair enough. Question: are any of us gonna make it?
All right. What are we pulling
Okay.
out? Pull it out, Wade. What do we?
Pulling out buggies.
No bugs. All right.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
Yikes, my
I'll
least
go for it.
favorite.
Are we maybe talking about buggies?
All right.
Go pull the cup.
Okay, right. Okay, we've got bodily fluids.
Bodily fluids. Ah, that's a good one. We're gonna
That's a
miss.
good one.
Yeah.
Being put to shame right now.
Pressure.
Gag moment.
Gag moments.
Gag moments. Okay.
Our throwing gag moments. All right, Wade, send us home.
Fix it. Hey-o.
All right, so it took a little longer than I was hoping, but we finally made some shots.
I think we all made it on our first throw is what they're going to see, right? So
Yeah, except for you. Everybody else, first shot. First shot left-handed behind the back.
yeah.
So we landed on genital injuries. So I got a story if you guys want me to start, unless you guys have a story.
Nah, go for it. It's all yours.
So most of these stories I feel like are going to be kind of sad. I feel like this one was kind of sad, but not in that way. Don't worry, Wade.
Yeah. Sad for who?
No, because this was not this is where I worked before. So.
Oh, okay, good.
So we get called out to this guy, middle-aged guy, and walk in the house. Fire's already there, and he's like sitting on the floor, just looks so dejected and sad, right? Just so sad. And couldn't see what was going on. Like, it took a little while for fire to come over and be like, hey, here's what the situation is. But so essentially the dude, one of his family members had died, if I remember right, and had been catheterized. And so the family member would talk a lot about the catheter and complained about it. And so I think in this person's grief of what had happened to the family member, they wanted to connect in that weird way that maybe you do. Yeah, exactly. You might know where this is going. So this person decided they wanted to get an idea of what a catheter is like. So instead of like getting an actual urinary catheter or anything, they found, if you guys have seen those kids jump ropes that are like rubber tubing, essentially,
The ones
it's
that
like
hurt.
like glittery, like hard rubber tubing. Took one of those and cut it up and catheterized himself with this jump rope. Yeah. So, I think the real issue was when he tried to pull it out. It didn't go anywhere. So I don't know if it was lubed up. I feel like it would have to be lubed up to catheterize yourself, and maybe
Blood's
just
a
not enough.
lubricant, right?
Yeah, does that count?
How long was the piece though? Like,
When we got there, it was pretty short, but I don't know like if that had been cut prior to us getting there, right? If that was like fire cut it or whatever.
I thought it was shorter because he went further. It was okay.
Yeah.
Now it makes more sense that they would cut it.
You know, I never found out exactly what length of
rope.
catheter was there in the urethra. That was not something I found out later.
how much was left in the bladder?
So yeah, he just looked so sad. Like he was so sad, and just you could just tell so embarrassed. And so it was one of those things. Like, yeah, we just kind of like covered him up and took him to the hospital, and he had to go into emergency surgery from what the hospital told us. Like they took him up right away to go remove it. But it was pretty gnarly.
Yikes.
That's such an interesting way to try to connect. Like what? Like of all the things,
And
of all
grief does
the
weird
I
things
know,
to
but of
people,
all
though.
the things we could have chosen, like
that's
that's
kinda
what
like-
we went.
Wouldn't have
That's
been me,
my-
but-
Yeah,
That's
not your
my
way.
interpretation. I wasn't like, hey, bro. So
Yeah.
walk me
Psychoanalyze
through
Yeah.
your thought process here. That was not a discussion we had.
That's future medic thoughts. That
Yeah.
You should have been like, while we're here, like I gotcha.
Yeah,
When
I got
the
enough.
burnout's a
Similar
little
story.
high, those are the questions that you have.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
okay, show me how we got here.
My aunt has a story similar. She was an ER nurse back in New York, and similar self-catheterization story, except for this guy, he was having a hard time peeing after a night of drinking. So big brain idea, I got fish tank tubing. Yeah, and that you can imagine going into the ER. He walked himself in, and she said that the tubing was long enough that you pulled up his pant legs, and it was near his ankles. So he chose a lot of poor things. She also has the story on the same kind of, in the same breath, she tells it, where, rectal foreign objects as well. Similar story, and it was a toilet brush, and the side the guy used might be a little bit shocking. I would leave it with cleanly after.
Clean colon.
Little rotation, little bristle, little work, yeah.
You saw like some late night, commercial for some med that's like a colon cleanser, and he's like, I got a better idea.
Yeah.
And it's a lot
paying for
cheaper.
that.
Yeah.
That's going to be $55. That's in my bathroom for free. Yeah, I feel it.
Oh, that's incredible.
All right, I got one. You ready? You were actually there for this.
Okay, I'm excited because I don't remember. You kind of
feel
brought
like-
it up, and I was like, I don't remember this
feel
once
like
it gets
you'll-
going. Maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like you'll remember. Okay. Every man that I've ever told this to has been quite uncomfortable, though. So,
Just getting
Get
ready.
adjust
comfortable.
yourselves. So we went on a younger patient, and the call notes just said that this patient was trying to rip his nuts off. Does that ring any bells for you?
No, keep going.
Okay. So we got there, and kind of the same thing. He was just sitting outside. He had jeans on, sitting outside. The police were there, and it was a whole thing. And he was just sitting there, looked super dejected, no affect whatsoever. And so I was like, okay, he's fine, not a big deal. And he stood up, and there was just blood all the way down, like just gushed down his pant legs. And I was like, oh man, okay. So he got him in the ambulance, and I was like, all right, I'm super sorry, but you're gonna have to take your pants off. We're gonna have to look at this. This poor patient had purposefully, he was trying to, self-harm, ripped his scrotum in half with his bare hands.
Is this ringing bells yet?
So unfortunately, this is not the first story with me having like open scrotum with testicles outside of it. So I do a little bit. The other one sticks in my brain because I think it was a newer, like my first time of seeing it, but
well,
I am remembering.
It was the only time that I've ever seen it. And I mean, this patient, he had no affect. You would have had no idea that there was something wrong with him. And yeah, both of his testicles were on the outside of his body. And I said, are you in any pain? And he just looked at me and said, yes, ma'am. And he said, okay, we're going to do something about that. But yeah, he ended up going right to emergency surgery, and they had to stitch it all back up. But yeah, bare hands, straight in half.
Why? That's animalistic.
That's-
Like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That just does not
wrong
sound
with your
right.
brain?
Yeah, no.
And so,
Like-
and so polite. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
It's a red flag that
It's
he's already
always,
like,
yeah.
as you were,
Yeah,
Like,
and he just, you would never have known.
It's always the polite, quiet
Yeah,
ones,
I will
They always
never-
got
I will
something
never
extra on their
forget.
sleeve.
I
Yeah,
will
yeah.
never forget
That's why,
that.
like, we talk about like a flat affect. Like
Yeah.
those patients are scary
For
because you
real.
don't know
I was
like
terrified.
what they're gonna do, right? Like if
was
they have that
terrified.
like the growling mean patient, like
Yeah.
it's like a dog,
Yeah,
right? Like,
right.
I know
You're like,
what I'm
okay.
dealing with.
No, it's going to
that-
happen here.
It's that flat affect.
that
patient.
No,
flat
for real.
affect, and then like that cackle. There's like a psychosis
Yes.
laugh that's like, oh, you're
Yes.
crazy, right? Like put it together. Psychotic, not crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Respect, dignifying. Sorry.
PC here.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So how about you, Nita? Any good genital injury stories?
Gosh. Okay. So I have one of like my own experience that's like not as exciting,
Oh.
and then one of my partner's stories that was quite interesting to say the least. So
Nobody would have had to know that story number 2 is not your story. You could have lied.
I know. I guess you're right. I don't know why I had to be honest about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Lie to us.
Yeah, you're right. What's wrong with me?
Make it more fun. Come on.
Okay, so the first one I have, I was barely starting as an EMT, obviously, literally like a month into this job, right? And we go to, an unknown address to like pick up this guy who had like called off the side of the street complaining of like pain, like unknown pain, like where it was coming from based on dispatch notes. So we get there and, my FTO is kind of like standing back, like watching me, like, try to gauge, like interact with this patient. He's standing upright. He's talking all the good things. I walk up to him and I'm like, hey, like I'm EMT Nide, like what's going on today? And he's like, well, so I have like some pus coming from something. And I was like, oh, okay. Like where? And he's like, well, I don't know if you want me to tell you because like you're a woman. So, and I was like,
Could be anything now.
That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. Say less.
and I was like, well, I mean, and I'm still new. So I'm like, I feel like I got to like really, nail this home because my FTO is standing back watching me. So I can't like be like, hey, like, do you want to handle this? Because like, it sounds like this could be a different kind of injury than I can handle. So I was like, well, like, what's going on? Like, do you want to step into the back? We can talk about it in private. And he's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So we get into the back. He like sits down and he just kind of like starts giving me the story. He's like, so I was like messing around earlier today and I realized that when I was, trying to, quote unquote, like pleasure myself, I noticed that there was like pus coming from my genital region. And I was like, oh, okay, like, like, that's not normal for you? And he's like, mind you, like, I'm still a naive EMT. Like, I don't know what questions to ask. This is like the first time I've ever been in a situation like this. I was like, I don't know. Like, yeah, like all I know is like, what's the last bowel movement you had? I don't know. Like, is your urine been normal? Like, this guy's telling me about like pus, and I'm like, okay, so that's a normal for you. And he's like, well, I've had it happen before, but it was like an STD, and I was like, oh, okay, well, like, what else is going on down there? And he's like, well, I've got, like, red pustules. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, yeah, and then my balls, they're, like, the sizes of oranges. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm assuming you want to go to the hospital for this? And he's like, yeah. So we, like, close the door. We're like, I'm getting him, like, set up on the monitor and whatnot. And as we're driving, my FT is still in the front. I'm sure he's probably just like laughing at this because he's like, oh, this poor little EMT is like having to deal with this call. And this guy, he like looks at me and he's like, so like, I don't know if you need to, but like, do you want to see it? And I was like, I'll pass. Thank you, though. I appreciate the offer. And, like, totally being so polite. Like, looking back, I just remember I was, like, being so, like, nice about it. Like, no, it's okay. Thank you, though. I appreciate you offering. Like, and in my head, I was like, please, no.
It's fine.
I'll pass today. Thanks, though. So, anyway, we, like, got him to the hospital, and I have no idea how that whole situation turned out, but he told me that this was not the first time that he had experienced such a problem. And I was like, well, do better next time.
And that was the day that Nide became celibate or a lesbian.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I was like, yeah, literally. After that, I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah,
thank you, though.
I'm good.
But I do have another story. So there was apparently this male patient who wanted to try something new with his wife. And they were like trying to figure out ways of like, you know, to add a little bit of creativity into the bedroom, right?
Spice it up.
Spice it up. Yeah, exactly. Right. And they had found metal, I guess they're called penis rings. I think it's the proper term for
She
them.
doesn't know, but she thinks this is what it's called. I mean,
I think
like,
it's like $17.99 on Amazon.
Direct quote. Yeah, no. And I guess they had tried it out, but he wasn't sure how long to leave it on for. So he calls the next day. So at this point, it's been 12 hours.
That's too long.
It's been...
That's too long. Sorry.
It's been like 12 hours, right? Just literally 12 hours. And we get there, and this guy literally has like this ring, this metal ring around the whole, don't ask me how he did it, not just around the penis, but also the testicles as well.
So like he shoved his balls through the metal ring.
Yeah, and then somehow managed to get, I don't know,
I'm
the
only
whole
here for the
genital.
hand gestures.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if this is doing anything. I'm like trying to And so we were like, okay, like we can see if the fire department can like, you know, manage to get it off. So like, I think we messed around with like some lube for a while. Nothing's happening, right? Like nothing's going on.
Proby, come here. I got a job for you.
This is your time to shine. Come
Your
on.
choice of verbiage right now was fantastic, too. I just want you to know.
We're just messing around with the lube, you know, seeing what's happening.
Really nailed this one, you know.
No, okay. So we end up transporting this guy to the hospital, and we get him there, like we drop him off, and then the hospital ends up calling the fire department to respond to them for this patient. Sure. Because at this point, they've tried to use all their equipment and nothing is working on cutting
their equipment's not working on his equipment.
Which one do you want at this point?
Which one do you want to keep, my guy? Because you're not keeping them both.
Because you're not keeping both. So the fire department responds back, and I guess the story goes, they were able to get it off. However, there was some damage done to the genital region. Yeah.
I feel like there's consequences for actions, and that checks out.
Also, like, but why both? Like, why did we, you know what I mean? Like, at what point did the directions not translate to...
Are you kink shaming him right now?
Oof.
You don't do that.
Okay. Oh my God. Don't even start. It says penis ring, not penis and balls ring.
Did you check out the packaging for it?
No.
Nita knows the Amazon listing really well.
Yeah.
Nowhere does it say
Yeah,
and
apparently.
balls.
Look, I did do my research afterwards, okay? I was curious.
That's not what it said.
I did do my research afterwards, so
Good for
yeah.
you.
12 hours, like you just like get up to make breakfast and you're like knocking stuff off the counter. accidentally, like, oops.
I don't know. Like, I feel like you hit hour 2 and it's like problems are arising.
Yeah,
like we've already hit a bad spot.
Was it like discolored? Like,
it was not even, there was no color really to it at all. It was literally just like swollen and enlarged and pretty much like pale gray color. Like
Yikes.
I was like, I don't even know if this is
that right up.
salvageable or not. Like, I don't,
Yeah,
like, I don't know what
where-
the time is on that.
Here's what I don't
a
understand.
spice it up
is
moment, huh?
After all of that, you think, my next move? Call an ambulance. Let's see how many people we can get here to see me in my most shameful position.
And the best part is that the fire department had to come back. So it's like once wasn't enough. Like, sorry, you had to
Multiple
endure
people.
that embarrassment once. No, we're going to do it again. Like, you thought you were done? No.
Stupid game, stupid prizes. Though, you know.
I feel like there's got to be other materials that you can like starter materials. Maybe not like metal right off the bat.
I think we jumped a couple lines.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know what they tried before.
You're right.
Maybe
You're
that
right.
wasn't
Once
a
again,
jump.
that might have just been another Tuesday.
I mean, I guess my assumption based off of he didn't know how long it could stay on was like, this is probably a first time.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I think that's a safe bet, but also, who knows? I didn't quite get the full story from him, as you can imagine. I don't think
Probably
he was
heard that
too
rubber
keen to
bands
share.
were bad for the whole thing, so he's like, you know what? No
was like,
rubber.
yeah.
Let's just move up.
Maybe she was
Tougher
allergic.
substance.
Go big or go home.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
guess
mean?
that's fair.
Literally.
I love to like having been in this industry a long time, and I know that if like I walked on scene, I had a female partner, and it was like something genital related for a woman, I'd be like, "You're up." They're
Yep.
like, I don't care. It's your turn. I'll take the next 5. This one's yours.
That brings me to another story that's not related to genital injuries at all. But
That's fine. We're here
there
for
was a
funny
call
stories.
at like food buffet restaurant. Okay, we'll just say that. You can take that with what you will. For this like 80-year-old female, I want to say, in the bathroom on the toilet, has been vomiting and has diarrhea. Of course, we
Not where I
get
thought
there,
it was
right? I think I'm still in my FTO as well. So like all of these things are happening to me at once, which like go figure, right? Like brand new to EMS, and all of these things are happening in my first month. So we get there. Of course, the entire fire crew is male, you know, and I'm the only female on scene. And so everyone's looking at me like, so are you going to go in there and assess her? And I was like, I mean, I guess. So I walk in, she's sitting in the stall on the toilet. And I'm like, hi, ma'am. My name's Nita. I'm an EMT. I'm here to help you. What can I do for you? And she's like, well, I need to get off the toilet, but I need to wipe. And mind you, I'm looking at her and she's got vomit just streaming down her entire like front of her body, right? Like there's not a part of her that's like not touched by vomit, right? Not to mention what's going on in the toilet, right? So like I'm like standing there like wanting to gag, audibly wanting to gag, but like I got to hold it together because no one else can come in here and help me, apparently, allegedly. So I got to manage this. So I'm like, okay, well, like, what would you like me to do? She's like, well, can you wipe me? And I'm like,
Oh, no.
I'd be happy to.
I'm like, yeah,
I
I can
don't
wipe
need
you. Like, I was like, this is the reason I didn't become a CNA. By the way, all you CNAs and nurses out there, mad respect to you, but that is not what I.
That is not my job.
That is not what I am built for. So I'm like, yeah, I can do this for sure. So I like grab like some toilet paper and I'm like reaching behind her and having to like wipe, and I'm like trying, because I mean, I'm getting both whiffs, you guys. I'm getting both smells. I'm getting BMs and some vomit. And it's not, this is fresh, okay? This is fresh off the stove. Off the buffet, yeah. We're talking barely digested. I can still tell what she ate. So I'm like, just just trying to get through the motion of cleaning her up as best as I could, and eventually we're able to get her pants up her and get her out there. Or I don't even think we got her out there. I think I just got her pants on her before I told the fire department, I was like, get in here, get a mega mover.
Tapping out.
You guys are in. I did the hard stuff. It is your turn now. But mind you, as I'm wiping her, she's still having active diarrhea. So that was a lot for me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still a little traumatized by We'll never be eating at this buffet ever again. Yeah. I was never the same.
Never thought you'd have to wipe another grown-up's butt while they were pooping actively, huh?
Nope,
You know,
definitely
the amount
not.
of times that's happened is
it
far more
surprisingly?
than I would like to
Yes.
count.
Yep. I would agree.
I've never once wiped anyone's butt. On
Nor have
call.
I. Oh, I wiped.
it's because
my
they always
kids.
send us to do it.
Exactly.
They always make us go do it.
Always us.
Oh, she's a
You
girl.
seem so
She can
bold.
handle it.
Yeah.
Big brain moves.
It's called big brain activities. You guys want to? Go ahead. Yeah, I'm not scared.
I've been here for doing this for 7 years. I've never had something stuck in a butt call.
Oh, really? I don't think I have either. I've had multiple
It's on my-
testicular
it's on my
injuries,
bucket
honestly,
list.
but yeah.
And
I don't let your
good, though,
Why are
you
you
know,
letting
not
your
just the,
dreams be dreams?
Make it happen.
You could
Kara.
be the call.
Yeah.
I live in Canyon County. I'm sure they have plenty of those already.
That's true. A lot of cowboys falling on shampoo bottles.
Yeah.
And,
Could have been anything. Tripped, slippery floors.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it happens to the best of us, obviously.
I was
I don't like
hoping
that you
this
said
Christmas
us.
season.
Just
All the decorative trees. But wasn't in the cards.
I think my favorite thing to do around the holidays with my partner is when we go to houses and stuff and we see little decorations and we're like, see, that's user friendly. That's not.
Flared base.
Example of something you could use, example of something you could not use. Of course, we don't tell our patients this, just as an FYI.
again,
but we
Nide
do.
sounds.
I know. Why do I sound
very well versed in this thing?
I hate that, but I also I don't even
It
know.
is what
She
it
walks through the store just like, no,
it's
yeah,
happening.
don't do the no. You know, she's got the categories. Yeah.
Well, that looks
literally.
surprisingly like the Rectum Stretcher 3000. That would be fine. She just knows. She's got
Wow,
it.
that looks
She's
familiar.
Also in my Amazon cart.
It's an expensive one.
Good taste. Good taste. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
I had a lady who was covered in poop, similar, right? I don't even remember what we got called out there, but she was head to toe, just diarrhea all over herself. And female firefighter went in there and took care of her, wrapped her up like a nice little burrito for us. The funny thing about it too is she didn't really complain. She just didn't complain about anything. She was just I think just generalized weakness. We were like, whatever. And so we get to the hospital later. The nurse walks up. She's like, hey, that patient that you guys were on, did you guys do an EKG? It's like, no, she was literally covered in feces. I was not going to. And she's like, oh, she's having a STEMI. Oops. She's having a heart attack.
Diarrhea.
Yeah.
Whoops.
She was fine.
It's that would you clean poop off it argument, you know? It's like, no, not on this one. Heart attacks are heart attacks. Oh, man. I have too many genitalia stories, and I don't like that I have so many. I'm sure that you just said you related. You have more genitalia stories than foreign body stories like myself. One in particular, I've told a couple times, but I'll come back to that. One that I made some provider. I had a reputation pretty early in my career of accidentally having other providers examine genitalia, not entirely of my volition.
There's one I know about that I'd like to hear about here.
I'll tell that one in a little bit. But there was
hold off
one.
on that
So
one.
we were. It was across town, right? So if you think about Boise and all the areas around, we're across town, far away from any of the downtown hospitals, and there was a gentleman who was having intercourse with a larger gal, and we showed up. He said that she smashed my testicle and it's popped. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's go. Which she was like, hold on, I want to go with you. I want to be a part of this. Which I was like, are you his significant other? How do you know him? She's like, oh, we've just been, kind of finagling is the term I'll use for a little while. I was like, all right.
Having
leave it at that.
relations.
Yeah. So as we're en route, this is when I'm really new. And like the one thing that was drilled into mine is like, be a patient advocate, be a patient advocate. You're always looking out for their best interest. And he's just uncomfortably grimacing, groaning. And me and one of my partners are sitting, like the gurney's in the middle, my partner's on the bench and I'm in that little side chair. Right. And so I'm talking to the patient and and he's like, it just hurts. It hurts. And that's when because I kept saying like, don't need to look at it. Don't need to look at it. And then finally got the point, I was like, well, do you? And before I could finish my words, trow dropped, right? Like, gone. And at which point my partner was charting, looks up, and is like, looks at me, like, what are you doing? Which witnessed, looked fine. So that was like, kind of feels like a red flag, whatever. We get to hospital, and this gal hops out. She's like, well, see ya, I'm going to start walking. And we're like, okay.
She just wanted a ride.
She wanted a ride so she could walk to the homeless shelter from across town. He AMA'd within 5 minutes of getting into the ER. He's like, oh yeah, I just did this so she could get downtown.
No!
Like, dude, so you showed me your gens for no reason. Like, this is your fault. Yeah, not a proud moment on my side. The one that Chris is referring to was there's a gentleman. We were I can't remember what it was, like sick person or something. And I was an intern at this time and working with, which Cody was there, the one that was just on our podcast. So he can attest to this story. Our other partner, poor guy. So this gentleman's like, yeah, I'm sick. I got to go to the hospital. Not feeling well. I was like, yeah, cool. This gentleman seemed to have been like, he was French speaking and he was of seemingly African descent. Now, this guy said, I gotta pee. Or like his family is telling him, like, he's got to pee. And so my preceptor, because I was a student, was like, you need to work on delegation. I was like, this is the moment. So I said, well, you grab a urinal. You're going to help him with his pants. I'm going to stand like this. And so I watched them. Well, this gentleman was fairly well endowed, is what we'll call it. And so he had tucked himself in between his own legs. So one of my partners, trying to hook it out, couldn't get it out. So he's just flicking this guy. He's like, oh, man. And he finally pops it out. The person comes around with the urinal. 4 drops. He's like, cool, good to go. All right, well,
I feel better now, thank you.
Yeah. We're doing the Lord's work,
Saving lives every day.
Oh, man. As far as, like, injuries go, we were dispatched out, like, it was an Omega, right? So it was, like, no lights, no sirens. Get there when you get there. Follow traffic laws. So we're dispatched to sick or injury at private residence. And when we show up, there's a middle-aged guy in a little townhome, and he lives with his mom. Okay, and so when I walk in, we had just ran like a code. So my partner's like, "Hey, I'm going to restock, and you can go ahead and get it checked out." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'll come get you when I need you. I'll radio." So I go in and I'm talking to this guy, and he's sitting on the couch, and his mom's in the corner. And I was like, "So what's going on, man?" And he's like, "Well, I had a really bad day." It's like, okay, solid start. He's like, "So when I came home, I decided to," and I'll never forget how he said it. He's like, "masturbate." And he said it like the most shameful thing in the entire world. And I was like, all right. He's like, so, halfway through, I'm enjoying myself. And he said, it started to hurt and then blood came out. And then he said, so I stopped. And this is, if you're going to be new to this field, work on your brain filter. This was before mine developed. I said, well, I'm glad you didn't power through that moment. That was my exact words in this. So he's like explaining it to me. And at that point, his mom starts laughing and just walks right out of the room. It's so uncomfortable. And it's one of those like professionalism, Well, at this point, my partner walks in. It's a female partner. And he decided that she was his type. And he stood up and started like kind of fluffing himself, right? And he's like, well, like I'm basically an Army medic. I took half of the class. And it's like, yeah, dude, we are the same, And so we're talking. And finally it gets to the point where he's like, what are you going to do for me? And it's like, well, honestly, probably not much, man. Take an easy ride. If I was you, I'd recommend maybe POV. And so his mom ended up taking him. So as I'm walking out of the call with my partner, she had no idea what it was. She's like, what was that? I was like, oh, he jerked off so hard he started bleeding. And she's like, shut the fuck up. I'm being serious. I was like, yeah, me too. And so it happens more often than you think, apparently. Watch your grip, fellas, is all I'll leave it at that.
Grip. That's crazy.
Live your own lives. Yeah, too many, unfortunately.
God. Yeah.
It's almost impressive. Like he's getting after it.
Seriously.
What kind of bad day you gotta have though? That's like tearing yourself open, but not as bad. That's
that's a different level of
It was I was just impressed.
even
Somebody
bad.
could
I
do
didn't
that
know
to
how
themselves.
fingers could even. Yeah, never mind.
Just
Yeah,
pure
I don't want to
mean,
think about that.
You ever seen a garbage bag? You know, like
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you though.
I like to keep my insides inside.
Yeah.
So
Oh gosh.
So, how about those drinks, guys? What do you guys think of them?
it's good.
Good.
Gosh, they're great. Honestly,
Yeah.
Support local. You know,
stop
You guys
laughing
are-
at me.
sorry.
I'm making.
If we're ever gonna do like a review column of anything, none of you are invited.
Do you want me to like give you like my hints?
Just tell me what you think. Give me some.
What's the bouquet?
Give the
Yeah, the
people want to
bouquet.
know. The people want to know, Nide.
I'd say like there's like a good like blackberry with also
Are you just
with also some
reading? What
well
the
specifically
thing says?
Marion black. Is
How
that how you
about,
say it?
ripe
Marion
and
blackberries.
You know your blackberries, apparently, huh?
I do.
Yeah.
It's certainly not listed on the can by
Locally-
any means.
locally grown?
Locally grown Marion blackberries.
Would you say that they accent genitalia conversation?
I don't know if I want to correlate the two together now because
just
now all I'm
asking.
thinking about is genitalia and blackberries.
I hope when
So-
you drink a cider in the next week, you're like, remember that time we were talking about ball sacks on camera? Yeah.
Oh, I'm deeply
I'm glad that
disturbed.
this is the conversation I get to be a part of.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
On a public forum. Talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah. Yeah.
genitals.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to?
Is there anything like better to talk about? This is fun.
I can't think of a
Well,
single
has
thing.
anybody ever been to Sherry's? Because I got a story about a bad date at Sherry's
I like their pie.
Sure, go for
with
it.
their pies.
Don't
okay?
ruin their pie. No.
Oh, not the pie.
It wasn't the pie that ruined it, but we
Okay,
did
we're
have
fine.
a patient that called after a bad date at Sherry's. He met up with a new lady friend from the internet and decided to share some ecstasy, I think it was, or LSD. That's the same
Bold choice.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, well, they shared it, and he called us about 12 hours later because his eyes were burning and his pee was burning. And he was like, I think she gave me some bad drugs, man. And my partner said, well, she could have cut it with battery acid. You don't know. And he was like, well, that's not the problem. And I was like, oh, no, definitely not. That's fine.
Benign.
But they had the pie shake from Sherry's. If you haven't tried. Delightful.
Fantastic.
But yeah, don't do drugs at Sherry's. People from the
Okay.
internet.
Moral of the story.
More of the story.
I would say just don't take drugs from strangers in general, even if it's not at Sherry's. Like, even if you're classing it up a little bit like Coco's.
Yeah.
Maybe even those.
What's Coco's?
Oh, sorry, my California came out.
Yeah. Never heard of her.
It's like Sherry's. It's like a American pie kind of a
Diner
place.
type.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Cool people will get it.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Can we have a refill?
All right.
I'll also take a
Sabrina's
refill.
gonna grab some more drinks.
Our little bartender. She's
Bartender.
multifaceted. Bartender, videographer,
She can,
social
she can-
media manager.
You're like
can
a
do it
triple
all.
threat.
Like more than a triple threat. She's like a
Thank you.
All the thread.
yeah, all the threats.
Which one do you guys want?
I'll take that blue one.
Okay.
Okay.
Hannah would like the blue one.
Thank
which
you.
leaves
I got a
the black
change
and
up
white
this
one to
time,
me.
though.
So good.
All right. So
Grand
what are
Teton?
the new drinks, guys? What are the new
Grand
drinks?
Teton 208 Idaho's Pale Ale, made in Idaho.
Wow. Okay.
I'm not much
It
of a
only
pale
goes
ale
with a
guy
local.
typically, but they're not terrible.
I've got some Washington State Teton Cider Works. Oh, that was beautiful. That little, yeah. Imperial Apple Hard Cider. Going with the classic. Classic.
Excelsior, the one with the giraffe that you
Dude,
sew. They actually do a strawberry rhubarb one. If anybody around Christmas time, delightful.
I just like the cans. That's
I
some good
know.
artwork.
I'm a sucker for marketing. I bought a case of beer one time because there's a bear and a lion boxing in space, and the beer is awful. But I've bought that beer multiple times because of the box.
Stop.
It's pretty good.
I feel like every time on this podcast, it's just gonna break down to who Wade thinks would win in a fight against animals, because it's not the first time.
That's a question
and you
that
bought it
haunts me,
just because of
apparently.
fighting between.
I'm just
two
saying
animals.
that's the best
You
way
know
to
what my
identify
favorite
people, though.
question is that you asked me like
identify people?
years ago. This is like the first
no.
time we worked together. Do you fold your toilet paper when you use
Yeah.
it, or do
Oh
you
my God,
roll it?
Yeah.
Do not even get
She
me
knows-
started
yeah.
on this.
Remember him asking me that, and I thought about it for ages after he did that. I mean, I asked every partner I worked with after that
Yeah.
if they, because you put me on it.
Well, there's
yeah.
a correlation to it. Those who don't fold their,
Oh my
don't
gosh,
tuck
no.
their gurney sheets
That's
in
where that
are the
came
ones who don't
from.
fold. Yeah, that's me.
Whoever's got a messy bed, they wad their toilet paper.
Bingo.
I forgot that came from you, and
Yeah.
I absolutely bring that up.
And
When
there's
I
a
work
correlation.
with new people,
It's
I'm
a
like,
weird-
you must wad your toilet paper because that looks like shit.
You're welcome
You're
for
like, how'd
every
you know?
training.
What about the smart bidet users? What do they do? Are they just a different
Bidet users?
bidet?
Oh,
bidet.
that's a
Yeah.
good question.
I think those people are too classy to work in EMS.
Yeah. Wait, actually, no, that's a good.
And if you have one, you're slumming.
Those
You
are
may-
Yeah,
those are doctors.
if you work in EMS and you have a bidet, you got it from like a relative or something.
Yeah, what money you have for a bidet?
You won it at a contest. I don't know. Like, yeah.
That shit was free.
It was for
The
free.
question is, does it have warm water or cold water? That'll actually answer more than you think. 'Cause if it's cold water, welcome to being a poor like the rest of us.
Yeah, if you got one, you ran a code at a rich person's house, and after you called them, you were like, I
Sorry,
mean,
we've been here for a minute. I'm gonna need to borrow
Are
that.
they going to be using this? Is this like a useful to go
they
thing?
won't
Like-
realize if it's gone.
Also,
Yeah, that's
heated toilet seats.
Oh,
Have
dude.
have any of us experienced that
Yes.
before?
Well,
It's actually kind of nice.
I mean, I've had the luxury of being in Japan with the fanciest toilets in the world. It's got heated seats, heated bidet water. It's fantastic. I don't know
yeah,
how
it's
I
life
ever go back.
changing.
It
Honestly,
really is.
Like,
Really
it's really
is.
a great investment.
I think about it from time
yeah.
to time. I just don't. I'm unwilling to spend that much money. on
Although,
the
like during the
toilet.
summer, if you got some swas going on, I can imagine
Slip
that would
right
probably that would not be comfortable. Oh yeah, no.
When does a heated seat just like steam when you sit down, like the condensation?
it's a stabilizing. It's
Yeah,
a core
yeah, a
at
little
work,
bit, yeah.
you know, like locking in. So that's actually, I think, a good segue of like sliding off a toilet seat. How many people have you found in the Bermuda Triangle between the toilet and that
gosh.
their
Too
bathtub?
many.
Too
Or
many.
than
Yeah,
we could count.
yeah.
Surprising how large the person can be for such a small space, too. Sometimes.
just
It
like it
never
sucks
fails.
cement.
Never
Yeah.
fails to amaze me.
like a
And
yeah.
it's
vacuum.
never off the front of the toilet.
No,
it's always
to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Which how do you do that?
I actually
the
ran a
mechanics
code
of
after
it.
that.
It's
one time.
this motion right here. They do this motion, and that's
Yeah.
the slip motion, the wipe motion. You would know about that, right? Wiping other patients. You got to get them
Oh,
to kind
good
of
one.
pivot. You know?
Oh,
Speaking
gosh.
of wiping other patients, I had a
yeah. Why don't you put in some time over here?
You gotta go to the less than couch for this.
no, it wasn't me. It was my partner. So
Okay, yeah.
we had there was a patient that she was like 500 plus pounds, and I don't remember. We would take her very often. I worked for an IFT company, so we would do like transports. I don't remember where we were coming from, but we would take her all sorts of places. And sometimes it was just like one time she had to get an MRI, but they weren't sure if she would fit in the machine.
Stop.
So we took her to the place. They had to see if she would fit in the machine, and then she just sat on our gurney for like 4 hours after because they had to order the contrast dye, and then did it, and then we took her home. So there were 2 crews out of service because we needed 2 crews because she was so large. For like 4 hours. There's a Starbucks next door. We all just hung out in Starbucks.
Stop.
Anyway, so we brought her
Did
home.
you take the patient into the Starbucks?
No, she
While
sat
was
in the.
waiting?
No, they brought it back
She
for her.
stayed there on the bed.
She stayed there on the bed. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But so we brought this patient home, and like we get her moved over to. She like slept in a hospital bed in the living room, right? So we move her over, and there was like some cream, like hemorrhoid cream, something like that she needed. And she was like, "You guys got to put this on us." Yeah, that's not going to happen. She's like, "But guys, I really need it." And one of the guys that was working with was in nursing school, so he's like, "I'll do it." And so like no hesitation, he just like, whoop, you know, because there's a whole lot of mass there that you had to like pull apart, and I swear, like,
Stop.
I mean, almost up to the elbow to like put the hemorrhoid cream on. And
No.
the
You know
rest
what?
of us just
Good
like,
on him. Good on him.
if you say
That-
so.
You know
no,
what?
really. That is a
That is the
board
Lord's
certified.
work. That is the
CNA
Lord's work.
right
I will
there.
I will never. But good for that guy, for sure. He's a better medic than
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
am.
say he's better than me.
Yeah, I was making like $9.50 an hour. You know what I mean? Just like basic EMT at an interfacility company
Yeah.
like 12 years ago. Like I do not get paid enough
To be doing any of that,
But he
no.
was like, let's do it. He was all about it. It's good for him, I guess.
Good for him.
No, really. That
Love
is
that for him.
You need people like that. There was one guy we used to work with that he probably the poopiest patient I've ever seen. It was so bad. It was downtown in an area where a lot of unhoused folk will reside
urban
around.
outdoorsman.
And this gal I've never seen more flies on a single human being.
Nope.
She easily had 100 flies on her. And so we were called out to her, and my partner's talking to her, and he's like, you gotta take care of yourself. Like, it was smeared down her legs. It was just everywhere. And so he gave her a towel. He's like, and a jug of saline. He's like, go over there behind the bushes, clean yourself up a little bit. And he was being nice about it. Well, this is what instead of going behind the bushes, she dropped trowel right there, wiped one time, threw the towel in this parking lot. I was like, see ya. And just walked off. And it was one of those where we looked at it and it's like, we can't leave this here, but I'm not taking this towel. So we ended up bio-bagging it and throwing it away. And then, of course, 15 minutes later, called right back because she'd walked to the same spot that everyone calls us from. And so we get there, we pick her up. And I remember because it was the sneakiest. Like, I was doing the whole alcohol under my nose. I was doing all of the things. And he's inside, and I'm trying to clean this rig, right? Because we just stacked the bench with as many yellow blankets. I think he used like 3 yellow blankets just to like absolutely knots. And when I was cleaning up after he's talking to the nurses, there were so many flies. They just had alcohol spray bottles, and I was like trying to like kill flies with all the doors open, and like shushing them all out. Oh, it was awful.
Oh, my Lord.
Awful. Yeah, I didn't wipe her. I would never. But she tried, or she did.
I don't know if this
unsuccessfully, I'd say.
has ever happened to you guys, but if you've ever like put the SpO2 monitor on someone's finger and shortly thereafter realize that there's like leftover feces underneath their nail beds and on their hand, and you can like smell it, and then you're like, I just put my SpO2 monitor on that.
Yeah,
Has that ever happened to you?
No, I don't go as far as putting my stuff
Okay.
on there. No.
Yeah. Okay, well, that happened to me a
thank
couple
you.
weeks ago, and it was this. Hi, my name's Nide, and
This is my story.
I've been in therapy.
and I'm like putting it on, and I like get a whiff of something, and I'm like, that's weird, and I like go to sit down, and then I'm like looking at his nail beds because I'm like, something's not right with his hand, right? And I like keep looking at it, and I just see this like caked brown matter, like bright brown underneath his nails, and I'm like, this isn't what I think it is it? And I like go over to like the other side, just to like I didn't like take his hand and smell it, but like, but I definitely would like
Hold on.
I did like one of those like science whiffs, like, is this what I think it is?
No!
And then I thought I was going crazy. I really did. I was like,
Oh.
maybe it's food and chocolate. I don't know.
It never is.
So it never is. And I was like, how did you get it on your hand though? Like, what were you doing? Like,
He must be a toilet paper water.
he is a toilet. Yes,
Yeah,
that
he's
has
not-
to be
he's
what
not
it
a
is.
folder.
That's the only
Can
answer.
we make that a patient question? Just like, as you're running
That's
through
actually
like
a great
signs,
idea.
symptoms, allergies. Do you want your toilet paper? Okay, medication.
I don't think it needs to be a question. I think you can look at them
That's
And
fair.
so-
usually
and
and be like,
That's
you
fair.
should take bets actually beforehand, and then
Yeah.
whoever's right, gets like something from the call. Like,
I told that story, Hannah, that we ran that call together for the gal who was Winnie the Pooh in it. We didn't get the chance to put the yellow blanket down on the gurney, and she had taken a bunch of laxatives that didn't kick in until we got there. We were denied. We had a falsely low blood pressure on it. I don't know if there's more details that'll probably ring your bells on this one.
I was gonna say I must have
It was
blocked
shortly
it.
after. It was shortly after I watched you give ketamine to a lady who broke her ankle, and she was like, "Yeah," because she's like, "I feel like I'm in a video game." So as I was driving, I was like, "Waka waka waka." Waka. I was trying to throw her.
This woman was having a full-on trip. She was having a. I tell that story all the time.
was a good one.
Actually, I was like, "Wait, shut up!" She's like, "Waka, waka, waka." She was having a cow.
Yeah, and then she's like, "I'm probably not even hurt, am I?" It's like, "No, you're still pretty. Your ankle's facing the wrong direction. You're still pretty hurt." Oh, it was right after because we didn't have ketamine, and I was like, "Should we go out of service for this?" And our soup was like, "Nah."
Oh, and then he brought it to us.
And then he had to chase us across the entire area to get. Yeah, that was one of the worst. That was one of the first like gagging moments of like, I can't, because she was just covered in vomit, and she's like, it's getting pretty hard to breathe. You didn't listen to my lungs. Oh fuck! I didn't listen to your lungs. Yeah, good. Yeah, you're breathing. That's good enough.
I see chest rise and fall. That's good enough for me.
Confirmed bilateral. Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't remember that. Must have blocked it.
Yeah.
I do remember that same day though.
That's a long day.
I gave ketamine to like 4 different people. It was right after.
I gotta say, I left the field like a month after ketamine
just missed
went
it.
for pain. So I got to give it one time, and even that one time was wonderful. The person's response was hilarious. So
was great.
I'm jealous of you
Great.
guys.
When we first got it, I handed that out like candy. I was like, yeah, let's go. We took 2 people that day. I think it was you. Maybe it wasn't.
There was like a back spasm and a broken ankle, if I remember correctly.
Then it wasn't you. I had 2 people that hurt their shoulders. They were two bike accidents, opposite sides of the county. It was a long day. We gave it to the one guy. I'm like checking him. We think he ended up being like a multi-system trauma. He had a whole bunch of issues, right? And I'm like checking him, and it wasn't you. I remember who it was, but I'm like checking his shoulders and stuff, and I'm like feeling his shoulders. And I told my partner, I was like, dude, he's messed up. I don't know what's wrong with his shoulder, but like, I was like, this guy is effed right now. And the guy looks at me and he was like, I only have one shoulder. And I was like, what do you mean you only have one shoulder? And he was like, I don't have that shoulder. I was like, how were you riding a bicycle, sir? And he was like, it's fine. I can do it. And I was like, okay, one shoulder. We got it. Take another guy. An hour later, give him ketamine also. And I was like, it's so wild. He had also hurt his shoulder. And I was like, it's so wild. I was like, I just saw a guy. He only had one shoulder. And he literally just laid back in the bed and he goes, do you know what you just told me? And I was like, what? He was like, you told me that there's a man in this state that only has one shoulder and I'm supposed to just sit here and take that? And I was like, I guess. I don't. I'm really sorry to have messed up your trip, but it was bad. He was not pleased. I was like,
that's
my bad.
incredible.
Sorry.
Too far.
Didn't realize.
The pain dose of ketamine is a whole lot more fun than to watch than the intubation dose of ketamine.
Yeah.
'Cause you get some good. Yeah, the one lady I ever gave it to was like high speed accident on the freeway, but wasn't a rollover or anything. But I think like probably some broken ribs, like nothing too significant. But it was like a brand new thing. So we were like, and I had a trainee. Is when I was an FTO, and she was like, patient was in some pain, and I was like, hey, you know what we can do? You want to give this a shot?
Let me try it out.
My trainee was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we gave the patient something, and you could like visibly see her like start to relax and everything. And we're getting close to the hospital, like, so how are you feeling now? Is it you feeling any better? And she was just like, I don't feel anything. Like, okay, perfect. It did its job.
Yeah.
I was like,
90% of the time it works.
I've
so
had a
good.
few that
I've had a
ketamine
few that
did
was
not
so good.
Yeah.
Did not love it.
That
I think I
one-
gave it with you one time for back spasms, and they did not love it.
I think that was me.
Yeah,
I think I was my
think you're-
patient, and she had like a full-on like,
not a fan.
oh my gosh, her blood pressure was like 250 over 150. She was
gosh.
vomiting. She like was boiling from the inside out. She had like this full cholinergic dump, whatever it was. And I was just like, but at least your back feels better. And she's just like, no, it doesn't. And I was like, I felt so bad. Oh.
I remember one time my partner gave ketamine and we were like already driving, but I just hear from the back, she's like, okay, like go to your happy place, like wherever that is. I'm going to go ahead and give you this medication. So, and this person had like, I don't know, a sprained ankle or something. It was something like it was broken something, but it was like very benign. It wasn't like she was in pain, but she wasn't like in a ton of pain. But as a courtesy, we're like, okay, like let's give you some pain meds because she wanted it. So we're like giving pain meds, and I just hear from the back, like she's like, okay, go to your happy place. She pushes it, and then all of a sudden, this lady just starts screaming, like top of her lungs, screaming, like you would have thought she was being murdered. Yeah. And I like look in the like rear view mirror, like to see what's going on, and my partner's just staring at her, like, it's okay, like you're fine, and she starts yelling, screaming, like every question that she was answering, she was just yelling, screaming. And she was like, ma'am, you're screaming. I need you to stop screaming. She's like, I don't know how to do that. She was like, I need you to go from here to here. Like, she screamed the entire way to the hospital. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It was rough.
It's when you want to hit like the undo button. Like,
Yeah,
no,
you're
no,
like,
no, no,
please
no.
stop.
Stop,
Yeah,
stop,
yeah.
stop,
Let me
stop.
just pull that back out.
Yeah,
Let me just give that back.
The first time I ever saw ketamine given, it was in my clinicals for medic school. And I'll never forget it because it was just the perfect situation for sending a patient to a hellscape. It was a little girl. She broke her arm bad, lightning bolted, broken arm. And the doc comes in. He's like, okay, well, we're going to reset. And at that point, mom was cool with it. Dad was queasy. He's like, don't touch her. You know, he's doing the pass out thing. He's like, all right, get him in the hallway. And so the doc's like, let's give a dose of ketamine. I can't remember, but I remember thinking is like, that feels like kind of a hefty dose, but I don't know. He's a doctor. He knows what he's talking about. So, you know, he's pushing the ketamine. He's talking to her. He's like, you know, do you have any pets, cats, dogs that you love? Trying to get her in the right headspace, right? And she's like, yeah, I had cats or have cats. Well, I have a cat. I had a lot of cats. And he's like, oh, what happened? He's like, well, one of them had kittens, and then all the kittens died. And right when she said that,
Oh no.
okay, hold on. I was like, you just sent her to a personal hell. Like, she's trapped with dead kittens, and I hope you're proud of yourself. Yeah, ketamine's hit or miss. There's also, one time I gave it for a kid who, it was a kneecap dislocation. And ketamine, for those who don't know, just dissociates, right? They still feel the pain. And so he was like,
just don't know it.
I was just, I'm hurting. This hurts. And I was like, yeah, do you care? And he's like, no, not really. I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's working. Right?
Did its job.
And then he proceeded to say, I can't remember specifics, but he talked a lot of shit in front of his mom.
Oh.
And I was like, dude, you gotta fucking stop. She's like, right here. You're gonna get yelled at.
Dude, I'm
And so
trying to
then
help you.
Later, he got a dose of Dilaudid because his kneecap was pretty screwed up. Got a dose of Dilaudid from the docs, and that's when I turned to mom. I was like, anything he says right now, illegal. You cannot use it against him at any
Off
point in time.
limits.
He can't help it. Yeah,
It's not his
Dissociated.
fault. Yeah.
You know, back in my day, patellar dislocation, we would just put it back. But
Yeah,
that's what men
No,
were men.
so I tried doing that, but
That's real
but
medic
the
work.
way he.
How many times have you dislocated your kneecaps?
Oh.
None, but I've put like 3 back in. So,
So the reason I couldn't do this one is that instead of sliding down, it slid down and then popped up. So when I was
Oh, I have one of
palpating-
those. It like
yeah.
flipped over
Yeah,
upside
yeah,
down.
that was my fear.
Yeah.
Is like, well, I don't want to over manipulate, and then now I'm flip flopped his kneecap
Mm-hmm.
in his knee, and then tear all his patellar tendon. And the
Yep.
doc that we ended up reducing it with, he actually had to like further dislocate it just to get it to pop back. It was gnarly. I was holding the kid's ankle down, and I felt the reverb of like vibration down his leg, and I was like, oh, yucky, like just immediately.
I
I'm
had
not a fan.
A young gal that walked out of a bathroom and both kneecaps, not just one. She was young. Out to each side, and we had to just put them both back in at the same time.
Oh.
She took it like a champ, better than any grown man I've ever seen do it. But
Did you
yeah,
see
we
the
had
love
to
of her
put-
life? She's falling for people.
She,
Sorry. Too
Wow,
soon?
wow, you just made it funny. Good one.
Thanks.
but,
just saying that.
Yeah, she did. We just somebody on each leg and popped them both
a
back in at the same time.
double reduction.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, the sound. That would be a satisfying sound though. That
Yeah.
Clop, plop. That would be a.
It was
That would be cool.
That's actually, yeah.
That's gotta be ASMR.
The first time I got to do that, I was like, this is rad.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
first time I got to reduce the kneecap, I was like, you feel like a real hero. You're like, yeah.
I fixed him. I
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, and they were like, can I stand up? I mean, sure, if you want, but like, just take it easy, you know. Like,
Careful.
You're basically healed though, so.
you're pretty much good.
Yeah. I'm not going to tell you my name and address, but if you want to give tips, I accept them in cash.
Couple questions.
Yeah.
Just
gonna
one more
start at
question. Just one more
15%.
question.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the second drinks?
I like the first one better. This is not terrible though.
You said it's not really your style, anyways, right?
No.
Pale ales.
Every time I see The Shape of Idaho, for anyone who's never seen it, it looks like Montana's a face that's smelling our state, and I can't look at that and tell me it doesn't look like a face that's smelling Idaho.
Is it just
Okay, like maybe.
Dude, it for sure is. There's
Maybe.
definitely a guy leading in.
is it just a scientific smell though?
Yeah, it's
Just a little scientific smell.
it's chocolate.
Okay, I get it. Gosh darn it.
It's actually more potatoes, but yeah, chocolate too.
There might be some things you don't.
There's some
wanna reveal
undertones
about
in there, like
yourself.
some
Yeah.
buckwheat or something, okay? Like
Lots of onions.
The guy eat a
Lots
lot
of
of corn.
onions.
Yeah.
How about the cider drinkers? How's the second one?
These are very good.
Yeah, I have no
I'm a big fan.
complaints.
No complaints.
No complaints.
Right on. Well, yeah, I think on that, I think we're at our time. So I think it's time to wrap it up. So thank you for being here. Appreciate y'all being here. It's fun. It's fun to hear stories. Stories apparently that I blocked out of my mind about people ripping their scrotums
For a
open.
good reason, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's a good one.
I
to
don't think
block
you
out.
need to remember that.
Yeah.
It was a long day.
Yeah. There's a lot of those.
It's like government paperwork, like the redaction with the marker. That's just, we're going to scratch that.
That's our
one.
brains.
And we're done.
Yeah.
Well, right on. Yeah. If you like the show, go ahead and subscribe. Share it to your friends. We're just kind of getting started, so it'd be cool if we could get this ball rolling downhill. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.